This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, and welcome into another edition of the Onside Kick right here on MVP Sports or on MVP Vids if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I am joined with my co-host, my partner in crime, my Robin, my Superman, however you want to look at it, JD, the Don of MVP. How we doing today, brother?
We're doing great, my guy.
I'm going to need, I know you worked all day. For this one, I'm gonna need a little bit more excitement, JD. This is the beginning of a journey. A journey starts today, JD.
Yeah, I know. A journey starts. You know, sometimes real life just overdoes you.
So I say a journey starts today because if you do not see from the title of this podcast, this is our first mock draft for this year. We're doing things a little bit different, or we're going back to basics, JD. We're going back to our roots. For a while now, probably I'll say the post-COVID days. We did mock drafts very individually. I'd come out with a video. It'd be me talking about my mock draft. You guys would call me an idiot, and then we'd move on to the next one. We're going back to the pre-COVID days, JD. The pre-COVID days were from this point forward, mock drafts will be on the Onside Kick. We are bringing them back to the podcast so we can kind of discuss these things. That means big boards, JD. I know we only did one big board where it was JD's personal big board, but we're bringing the big boards back to the podcast as well. Those will be on the draft room. So mock drafts on the Onside Kick, big boards on the draft room. Both of those will drop this week. So
Also,
JD, go ahead.
Should say, if you're listening to us on a listening device, Spotify, Apple, or Apple Music or whatever they call it, this might be an episode you want to watch on YouTube since we have graphics that could help you see see what we're doing.
We will have our graphics. So as I read off the order, we will have the graphics up. So you want to check them out on YouTube, you can for that. Or if you're in the car, like JD, this isn't back in the day. I can't turn on my my YouTube app on my phone and close my phone. If you're driving in the car, don't open your YouTube right now. Continue listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But JD is correct. We will have graphics for our YouTube friends and Rumble friends out there as well. Before we get into everything, though, quick housekeeping. It's pretty much the same today. You can check out the Discord, greatest community in the universe. The MVP Discord is down below. We have some great community members. It's kind of where the fans and us can kind of talk about the sports we love each and every day. That link is down below, along with our Patreon link. If you want some extra perks, some extra behind the scenes access, if I can say that right, JD, the patrons got to see or had the access to see our mock draft as we're making it. I posted it. It's a little weird. In the off season, it'll be at least a week before. But during the season, we don't get the draft order until like Monday night. So really, it's like a 2-day window. You get to see what we're working with during the season. After the season, it'll be a full week window of kind of how we're doing things. But Patreon link is down below. All our socials are down below as well, so you can keep track with us there. If you love the podcast, hit that subscribe button on YouTube or that follow on podcast services. If you like it, hit that like button and let us know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But JD, let's start this one off. We're going to go through, start with number one. We're breaking this up into 3 easy segments. I'm going to let you go first. Give me your, by the way, before we go through this, the order of this draft is dictated by Super Bowl odds at this moment. So, it was like on Tuesday morning, I put in the order. So it is off of Super Bowl odds, not off of record, just so you know. All right, JD, what's your top 10? Who you got? What you got going on?
So with the number 1 pick, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Carson Beck, the quarterback from Georgia. At number 2, I have the Giants selecting Quinn Ewers, quarterback from Texas. 3, I have the Broncos taking Will Campbell, the offensive tackle from LSU. And then 4, I have the Patriots taking Calvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle from Texas. Number 5, I have the Titans taking James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. Then I have the Commanders taking Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. Then I have the Raiders taking Mason Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan. And then I have the Colts taking Tet- Tetaroa McMillan from Arizona. Wide receiver from Arizona. Then I have the Colts taking, I have the Jaguars then taking Travis Hunter, the wide receiver slash cornerback from Colorado. And then at 10, I have the Rams taking Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback from Notre Dame.
And if we go right into mine, I've got the Panthers at number 1, following JD's order as well. Carson Beck, quarterback out of Georgia, the Panthers at 1. I have the Giants at 2, going with Shadur Sanders, the quarterback out of Colorado. Following that at number 3, I've got the Broncos going with his teammate Travis Hunter. I think it's Travis Hunter the third, technically. Or is that Luther Burden? I'm thinking of Travis Hunter out of Colorado, wide receiver, cornerback. I got the Patriots going with Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan. The Titans going with James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Commanders going with Will Campbell, the O tackle out of LSU. The Raiders going with Benjamin Morrison, the cornerback out of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The Colts at 8 going with, Mikel? We totally looked into this before, and I knew I'm going to get these names. Yeah. Mikel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia. Right behind him, the Jaguars going with Malachi Starks, his teammate, the safety out of Georgia. And then the Rams closing up this top 10, Calvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle out of Texas. So, JD, that brings us to the top 10. First team I think we have to start with is the Carolina Panthers. And this kind of works out because I was going to ask you on Monday, but I didn't. Should we do an emergency podcast? But I'm like, you know what? It'll probably come up in this with the Panthers at number 1, what they're going to do. The big news is that Bryce Young hates it, by the way. Why wouldn't he? But the Carolina Panthers have benched Bryce Young. We don't know how long this is going to be, how many weeks it'll last. Is this permanent, not permanent? In your mind, JD, already 2 weeks into the season, is this the Panthers telling us the Bryce Young experiment is over and we are looking for a quarterback this year in the draft?
No, I don't think it's the Panthers saying that. I think that they are just trying to get him right mentally. Because clearly there's something wrong. I was not the biggest Bryce Young fan coming out of college because his size was way too small for my liking. But undoubtedly, he had the talent. He was an amazing college quarterback. And I don't think he just forgot how to play football overnight. But he has looked horrible from his rookie season and now the first 2 weeks of this season. He looks like he doesn't belong.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is the Panthers saying, okay, we're done with this. But I had them taking Carson Beck just because, I mean, this is the first mock draft, but I think they learned their lesson potentially from drafting a tiny quarterback, and now they're going to go with the stereotypical pocket passer. I know he can kind of run, but that big-bodied quarterback.
Now, I will say this, and yet again, this is kind of this will be a theme within mock drafts this year. I'm actually going to bring it up a little bit later with a team we talk about later in the draft, but the thing that I will be interested to see is right now, 2 or 3 weeks into the college season, I'll be honest, Carson Beck's the only quarter. Like, there are two quarterbacks that have impressed me. One, Carson Beck. We talked about him first draft room, and we were like, you know what? We got to wait and see. Is he just going to be another Georgia quarterback? Because we all know how Georgia quarterbacks after Matthew Stafford pan in the NFL. Not so great. But all the other, like Shadur hasn't impressed me. Quinn Ewers, he's now injured. And I feel like with Quinn, we'll get into this later because I know that you have him drafted, but I want to shelf it because the conversation we're going to have about a team will be about Texas. He could be benched the whole year if Arch Manning takes his job. So it's like, to me, the only two quarterbacks that have impressed, Carson Beck and then my boy Cam Ward. This is not going to be a deep like this will either be a 3-4 dog race and it's like, okay, we're back to a deep class, JD, or I have a worry that this will be, wow, Carson Beck is the guy, and we'll see if any team has to take a stab on the other three just because they'll need a quarterback.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I agree with you with that because I have not been impressed with the quarterback play of these draft prospects. Quinn Ewers, he looked really good in their last game before getting hurt, which is a shame. But I still like his fundamentals. As I've said on a previous video before, or podcast before, I think he has a high floor.
Yeah.
So I think that helps him. But with the Panthers, I think it's either going to be Carson Beck or, I mean, they could wait a year. Quite honestly, they could give Young another year to prove himself and maybe draft an edge rusher or offensive tackle with the number 1 pick. But just for this one, I think I'm landing on quarterback, and because maybe they don't want to risk a future prospect to falling off like a Nico out of Tennessee, because he's the projected number 1 pick for the 2026 draft, and obviously guy looks really good, but it's kind of hard predicting things like that. I guess 2 years from, or a year and a half from now.
Off the cuff. See, here's the thing. Off the cuff question when it comes to Quinn Ewers, really quick, because the quarterbacks, this is a conversation really with the quarterbacks too, is I will ask you, hypothetically, the only reason why I don't have Quinn Ewers in my top 10 is because of his injury. And it's not necessarily the injury itself, because you're right, he was playing well in the first 3 games. But here's what I think is going to happen, and I'm going to ask you just your percentage of if this happens and what he should do. Arch Manning balled out in that. He came in for Quinn, and it was like, I'm here. I am the next coming of football Jesus here. I am Arch Manning. Also, JD, the MVP curse strikes again. Because what happened? JD on a podcast said, Arch is not going to be that good. Oh, he's only here because his name's Manning.
No, okay, you're overblowing. I did not say that. I said I think if
the
his
words
name
did come out of your
Arch,
mouth that he wouldn't be at Texas if his name wasn't Manning.
No, it wasn't if he wouldn't be at Texas. I don't think he'd be the number 1 player in the country in his recruiting class if his name wasn't Manning. I would say he's probably more of a high 4-star talent.
The point being, you said that about Arch Manning.
Oh, I know.
And then he said,
I
hold this fat L for you. The MVP curse. I think I'm more excited that the MVP curse just stays alive. Each week I'm like, what thing will we say that'll completely, the opposite will happen? And usually it's us being dead wrong, which I'm very excited for. But let's say Arch Manning continues this success and Quinn Ewers, he'll have a choice to make. Let's say Texas goes, hey, Arch is playing way too well. We're not going back to you, Quinn. If you're Quinn, what decision do you make? You got 2 decisions you can make. One, you can say, well, this is my 4th year of eligibility. I'm going to come out and come into the draft Or, correct me if I'm wrong, because he only played 3 games, they can slap him with a red shirt and he can transfer somewhere.
I'm pretty sure he already redshirted last year.
Did he redshirt last year?
Yeah.
After the 12 games he played?
He played in 12 games last year?
Yep. So here's what I have. In 2021, he enrolled at Ohio State, joined the team
Quinn Ewers, you're talking about.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, not Arch.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about
No, Quinn.
No, he already did a redshirt. He redshirted because he was an early enrollee.
Did he redshirt at Ohio State?
Yeah, because is like his true freshman season. He played 1 game and that was their bowl game. And then
it says here he made his debut against Michigan State in November.
Yeah.
So basically, my question here's my question then: if you're Quinn Ewers, let's say they go, we're keeping with Arch, we can't go back to you. Do you come out into this draft class, or do you say I'm going to transfer somewhere else and I'll come out next draft class?
Yeah, if they go with Arch, if they just say, "Okay, Quinn, sorry, bud, we're done," then yeah, he's definitely going to transfer and then play his senior season because it looks horrible. You're not going to go in the first round if you get benched.
Yeah,
replace benched, however you want to frame it. So yeah, he would probably transfer to another. He'd go to another Power 5 school. Because he's proven that he
can win.
That he can play. Yeah, he can win and play good. So yeah, and he would just have to build up his draft stock again. So he would probably, going into next year, if he got benched, he'd probably be like a third round, second round prospect if he gets benched, just because that's you don't really see that, and I feel like it has some bad taste. If it happens.
Well, and I'll be honest, and this is, if he did come out, it would be basically, he'd be the Drew Bledsoe of college. He was playing well, he got injured, and then, oh, by the way, this young kid comes in, Tom Brady. If they stick with Arch and he continues to play well, by the way, don't be surprised if ESPN and everyone runs with, oh, he's the Tom Brady of college, because that's going to happen. But with the Panthers, I think that I'll ask you this. At the end of the year, yes, both you and I have Carson Beck at number 1. What's the percentage? I'm going to say maybe 25% chance. And if anybody, it's Shedeur. I think it's a 75% chance if the Panthers are number 1, Carson Beck's the guy, not Shedeur Sanders.
If the Panthers are selecting number 1.
Yep.
With Carson Beck, I would say there's probably, I would lean right now a 55% chance, but I don't think it would be another quarterback. I lean more like just a different position.
Okay. So you think they could just go not quarterback altogether because they still have Bryce Young?
Exactly. So I think it's either the 55% that the pick is Carson Beck, and then the other 45% it being just a different position.
Well, moving on to the next team you wanted to talk about, I'm going to let you take this away, but I'm going to sneak in a question here because you know me, I like to sneak in questions. Travis Hunter. You got Travis Hunter at number 9 overall. For anyone in the comment section that is going to say that having him outside the top 5 is criminal, why did you have Travis Hunter fall out of the top 5? Seems like a top 5 guy on big boards, probably even a top 3 guy on big boards, I'll assume. What was your thought process having him at 9? Because I had him to the Broncos, the team you wanted to talk about.
Honestly, this was more of a positional need. I think the Broncos need offensive tackle more than they could use a wide receiver or corner.
Okay.
And I know before people say, oh, well, no, you take BPA, and you're right. But let's remember, this is only a 1.0. There's guys that I just want to fit on here for just for name recognition, and then also just with fit.
Yeah.
So Travis Hunter, again, you'll see, you got to tune into our big board. but I do really like him.
Yeah.
But my thinking here is I have McMillan as a better wide receiver right now. I think he's also having a better season than Hunter right now at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of played into him falling. But I valued the offensive tackle more for the Broncos. I think Will Campbell has potential to come in day one and be an elite starting offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really just what it came down to. I love Travis Hunter. I think there's a very, very good chance he does go top 5.
Mm-hmm.
But just in this one, it was kind of hard to fit each of these players into the right situation.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's just kind of what it came down to for me.
I'll be honest, this was not an easy pick for me. The reason why I settled on Hunter is not even because he beat BPA here. It's because to me, the two most important needs on this team are cornerback and wide receiver. And basically, this is a pick that I believe, hey, let's take Travis Hunter. He's going to work out at one of them. Either we test him out at corner, test him out at wide receiver. Me personally, I think he'll be a wide receiver in the league, more so than a corner. Because as we talked about, like, I don't think he has the physicality to be a corner. Like, he's not that Jalen Ramsey dog as a corner. And some people are going to come after me as that. I think he's a better wide receiver. And with this Bronco team, their wide receivers need some talent. Also, Cortland Sutton, after next year, he could be gone. And then you really got no one because Mims hasn't stepped up yet. Troy Franklin is a rookie. Like, they're hoping the Bo Nix, Troy Franklin chemistry pans out. But let's be obvious, Bo Nix is never going to pan out because he sucks. He's worse than Will Levis in my mind, and that's saying something because my boy Will Levis has got the bad mojo in his head, and I don't know what he's doing. It's hard to defend that guy. It's hard to defend
brother. Him. When you planted that flag, I was like, all right, that's all you, brother. I'll watch you.
So I said this at work. By the way, Ultimate Autographs, go ahead, check them out. If you want sports memorabilia, plug for my company. But I said this at work, JD. I said, it's kind of like watching him. You ever watch a guy before like the senior season and you go, this guy has every tool to be successful. Then he has a bad last year and you're like, you know what? It was the team. He didn't have a good year because Kentucky wasn't that good. The coaching wasn't that good. He'll be better in the NFL. Then he lands in the Titans. And you're like, year one, it was Mike Vrabel's fault. Didn't set him up for success. He's going to be good. And then like that third year happens. You're just like, all right, maybe it's just you. Maybe it's just him and he has all the talent. He just doesn't know, like either he doesn't know how to do it or the coach doesn't know how to do it. Like, I don't know. It's bad right now. I cannot defend Will Levis right now.
I'll say this. If he was ever going to have a good year, this would be the year because Brian Callahan has worked with lots of good quarterbacks and usually finds a way to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
And Will Levis he's been horrible.
It's only been 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games, and this guy turns over the ball it's pancakes.
He looked a lot better last year. I'm hoping that Brian Callahan can get through to him. Otherwise, I will say him coming out and being like, oh, he's a grown adult. And like, I like the Brian Callahan saying things to the press that not a lot of coaches kind of putting him on blast. But at the same time, I look at it and go, you want this guy to play better. Are you trying to kill all his confidence?
Or he doesn't want him to play better because
he doesn't want him to play better.
That's not his quarterback, right?
I get that, but it's just like, then get rid of him, trade him, let him go somewhere else, and get a change of scenery. But with the Broncos, back to the Broncos, I went with the Travis Hunter because wide receiver, corner are their top 2 needs. But I'll be completely honest, you could make a debate here that Travis Hunter should be the dude, that Will Johnson should be the dude, that Will Campbell should be the dude, or that Mason Graham should be the dude. Any of those positions, corner, wide receiver, tackle, D-line, any of them, you could be like, that's the pick here at number 3.
Yeah, exactly. And like, this is the thing as of right now, I guess
Mm-hmm.
it would be going into week 4. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
week 4 of the college football season.
Yeah.
The non-quarterbacks, I guess you could say like non-quarterback top 10 players.
Mm-hmm.
You can make an argument for each and one of them. Like, I feel like there's not much separating the top 10. So that's what also made it hard. I feel like each of these players are performing at a similar level. And I know early sample
Mm-hmm.
size, that's probably why,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what I'm looking at. And then that's why I kind of went back to also what has happened last year with like
Mm-hmm.
certain prospects where, I mean, they showed their potential a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, with the Broncos, like again, they have a lot of holes. They're not a
Mm-hmm.
very good football team. But and then that's kind of why I landed with the offensive tackle, because
Mm-hmm.
when in doubt, protect your future quarterback, even if that guy isn't Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Uh, it doesn't hurt to have an
Well,
elite
it's going to be
offensive
Bo
line.
Nix as long as Sean Payton's there, because that's his quarterback you wanted.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess you're right, but let's see how that works out.
I will say one of the names I mentioned, and I have him going to a team we're going to talk about next in the last part of the top 10. Mason Graham, to me, is a dude that, and I'm only saying this because you have him in the top 10, I don't. He's a top 10 prospect, but I just have a feeling, and I know it's early on. We have a lot of draft coverage to go, JD. We have a long way until the end of April. I just have a feeling that Mason Graham or Starks, the safety out of Georgia, those could be our 2 fallers. There's always a faller, a guy that's like, oh, this guy's a top 10, and then you're like, wait, like last year, Dallas Turner. Oh, he's like, that's a top 5 pick. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait. He didn't get drafted there? He didn't get drafted there? He didn't get drafted there? Wait, what is going? Like, we were sitting there going, all right, who'd he shoot? This guy had to have killed somebody, right? That we don't know about. He had to like murder a baby or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had to do something catastrophically evil. Nope, he just fell. Like, there is going to be someone, and I think Mason Graham is gonna. It's either him or Starks are gonna be one of the two that is gonna fall. Last thing in this top 10 I want to talk about. We mentioned the Titans with Will Levis. Could be looking to move on. I know he's got 2 years on his contract after this one. Another team in the top 10 that could be looking quarterback, the Las Vegas Raiders. They have Garner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell under contract. Minshew is up 1 more year after this. Aiden O'Connell 2 more years after this. JD, in your mind, what are the odds that when we get to April 2025, the script is changed on the Titans and the Raiders, and instead of us going with edge rush or like with the really we went defense for both teams. Instead of us going defense, it's going to be no one, or if both of these teams will be looking for a quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely think I think both teams will be looking for a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my reasoning for let's say for the Titans and the Raiders to not go quarterback here
Uh-huh.
is just one, the top 2 didn't fall to them.
Yeah.
Either of the top 2. And sure, obviously you can still make the argument for Shedeur. I personally don't love him as a prospect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think taking him in the top 10 right now would not be good. But I definitely think the Raiders will be looking for quarterback. I think they're going to kind of hope that they suck and have a top 3 pick to kind of ensure that they get one of those top quarterbacks. I know they just beat the Ravens, so who knows? But yeah, I mean, my thinking here with Mason Graham is that you get another very good pass rusher. Well, not necessarily pass rusher, but
D lineman,
defensive, yeah, D
interior.
lineman. Because the reason why I pause at the pass rushing aspect is because from what I've seen from him, he relies on just being bigger
Mm-hmm.
than I don't want to say than the other offensive linemen, but he relies on his strength a little too much. I don't love
Mm-hmm.
his hands,
Yeah.
and I think he needs to add a bit more pass rush moves to his tool belt there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like his floor is just a very good run stopping defensive tackle, so like a nose tackle,
Mm-hmm.
and nose tackles don't go in the top 10,
Yeah.
obviously. So that's kind of if he doesn't really
Kind of
show any
kind of leads into my where he might be the one that falls.
yes. Yeah, because again, if he doesn't show any progression in his pass rush game
Mm-hmm.
more than just overpowering the opposing offensive lineman,
Yeah.
then yeah, I think that will cause him to fall. And I know you mentioned Starks briefly.
Mm-hmm.
For you, again, you had him in your top 10. Um,
I
I
only
could
I only bring up Starks because I will say disclaimer, we were going to use Tankathon, which I was going to very interesting because the Ravens would have been a top 10 team, which would have been fun. But then you were like, no, everyone else is doing Super Bowl odds, so we should do that. And I went, fine, we're not going to have fun here. In the first one, Starks was falling for me. That's why I kind of throw his name in there.
yeah, and Starks is very good,
Mm-hmm.
but again, this is just a personal vendetta I have.
Against
Is
safeties.
yeah, I don't think you should be taking a safety in the top
Mm-hmm.
10. I
Yeah.
think maybe you can make the argument in like anywhere from pick 17 and later.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's good value drafting a safety in the top 10 because it just hasn't really worked.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say so you where did oh what's his name? Where did Adams go? Was he I think he was a top 10 pick, Jamal
Jamal
Adams.
Adams? Yeah, I think it was 5.
Yeah, and I mean he was good for a while. I mean he's still good, but I mean I don't know. I don't think
Sixth
safeties
overall pick. Damn, I'm
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I don't think safeties add that much value to warrant a first like or sorry, a top 10 pick, and it rarely works out.
Do you know the 5 people that went above Jamal Adams?
Brother, I don't even really remember what draft that was. What was it, 2017?
Mm-hmm.
2017,
You
you
know
have
1 and 2.
yeah, well, yeah, that was Baker, right?
Nope.
That wasn't the Baker draft?
Mm-mm. The Mitch Trubisky draft.
Oh, brother. That
So
I'm drawing a blank.
Miles Garrett went 1.
Oh, Miles Garrett that
Mitch
year.
Trubisky went 2. Should have went 3. Solomon Thomas should have went 2. Went 3. Jaguars took Leonard Fournette at 4, and then the Titans
Yeah.
took Corey Davis at 5.
Oh, dude, I forgot about Corey Davis.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked him.
Mike Williams went 7 to the Chargers, and then Christian
Yeah.
McCaffrey 8 to the Panthers.
Yeah. Dang. I forgot that
Yeah.
Fournette went above
Yeah. You want to hear something crazy?
that was the greatest like running back draft
Yeah. Well, you also
probably
had
ever. Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara.
you want to know the funny thing about that draft?
What?
Both Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Mahomes, bottom half of the top 10. Number 1 in their position now.
Yep.
Just it works out that way. And the 2 guys drafted ahead of him, Leonard Fournette, I don't even think he's in the league anymore.
Yeah, I think
he is not. He played for the Bills last year. He's not in the league right now. And Mitch is clinging on to a job with the Bills. He's just clinging on for dear life. But I'll be honest, I don't know if either of these teams go quarterback because of the thing I said earlier. I don't think this quarterback draft is going to be as deep as we want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be Beck and Shadur. It'll be at the end of the year, Beck and Shadur, bona fide top 10 picks. Cam Ward will be that, like, he's good, but he's not top 10 good. At the most, I could see Cam Ward, even though I love him, being like a mid first round guy. Like, that's his ceiling of how far he like rises up. But to me, if I'm looking at it, he'll probably, if it's a great season, he'll be like the Lamar Jackson, where a team will trade up at 32 or trade up in the late first to get that option on them. I don't think the Titans or the Raiders are going to be looking for a quarterback this year just because of the class that we have. But as always, we'd like to thank the people that make these videos possible, our patrons whose names are displayed on the screen now. If you would like to become a patron, go ahead and click the Patreon icon in the bottom right. And if you'd like to check out another video from MVP Sports, hit the video in the upper left. As always, thanks for watching.